But earlier today, and this is what we were talking about at the beginning, Fred, Colombian President Gustavo Petro announced he's also blocking the U.S. military flights, saying, quote, the U.S. cannot treat Colombian migrants as criminals. I deny the entry of American planes carrying Colombian migrants into our territory. The United States must establish a protocol for the dignified treatment of migrants before we receive them. And as we reported Saturday, both Mexico and Guatemala said they will allow U.S. military flights transporting their citizens back home. One minor point that I would like to add, there's already a summit being called by Latin American countries to discuss the issue of migration and what's happening here in the United States.
Well, good damn afternoon, Americans. Jericho Green here with you once again. Like and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you give me a follow on X at @green_Jericho. I appreciate that. And you heard it, guys. Are you shaking in your boots? Maybe you're not wearing boots. Maybe you got pumps on. You got some tennis shoes. Maybe you're going barefoot. Maybe you're going hippie feet. Whatever you got, are you shaking in it? Because there's a summit being gathered in by the Central American countries. Not Central America. Anyway, so you guys have probably heard about this. If not, I will fill you in. So apparently there are some military flights that are going to some Central and actually not even just that, Mexico, Central America, South America, wherever they need to go. There are military flights that are full of illegals that they picked up. Of course, now remember, these are the bad hombres. These aren't the, oh, please, Mr. United States. It's not the migrants that they want you to conjure in your mind when you hear that word, undocumented. No. These are the bad guys. These are the criminals. These are the people that Trump was telling us were being released from the prisons and picked up off the streets. These are bad guys. These are guys with murder warrants back in their home countries. These are guys who committed sexual assaults and drug dealing and human trafficking, and gang banging and shooting and killing and maiming and all these horrible things after they got here. So these are the bad guys. And you heard him, that statement from the Colombian president saying, well, we're not going to accept them until they are treated humanely like human beings. These are monsters. And why do you have a problem taking it back? These are supposed to be your people. These are la raza. And you hear in the next clip I'm going to play, you're going to hear that. Listen how they describe the illegals that were sent back and the conditions. Oh, these long, uncomfortable flights. We were shackled with our hands on our waists. Oh, you poor thing. You poor little criminal. What did you think it was going to be like? Did you think it was going to be like one of those Virgin airline commercials where everybody is dressed in the same colored uniform and they have a choreographed dance to welcome you on board and they put a lei around your neck? This is a military flight. You probably got the Department of Homeland Security, the U.S. Marshals involved. This is Con Air. Or more appropriately in this situation, Con Aire. It's Con Air. What'd you think it was? You thought it was Delta or something? And then listen to what Trump says. This is beautiful. This further lets them know who they're dealing with.
The U.S. continues to deport illegal migrants. Here, an emotional scene in Brazil after a long and miserable flight for a reported 80 people. This man says passengers like him were tied up with restraints on their waists and legs, treatment many there are condemning. But while countries like Guatemala have accepted flights, others, like Colombia and Mexico, have denied landing permission to U.S. military planes. On Sunday, Colombia's refusal set off an exchange of tariff threats. Donald Trump responded on his social media platform Truth Social, writing, "Emergency 25% tariffs on all goods coming into the United States. In 1 week, the 25% tariffs will be raised to 50%. Colombia's president fired right back. In his own post, Gustavo Petro said Colombia would impose tariffs of its own, not 25%, but straight to 50%. The president of the Colombian American Chamber of Commerce says the dispute should be resolved through normal diplomacy. Colombia's president appeared to offer some wiggle room, saying he would send a presidential plane to bring Colombian citizens home, saying they deserve the dignity not to be treated like criminals.
You see that? They deserve the dignity not to be treated like criminals, even though most of them are criminals and they committed a crime by coming into our country illegally. But they're not criminals. They committed a crime, but they're not criminals. I thought people earn these things. You earn these titles, so why don't you give it to them? They committed a crime. They are criminals. Call them criminals. But no, they're asylum seekers. They're migrants. Like they're just following the crops around, working until they get blisters on their hands, and then going to lay tired by a campfire and eat beans and tortillas and sing hymns from the motherland until they fall asleep to the crackle of the flames. Please. So that's what's going on. They're not going to take the flights. Trump says we're going to hit you with an emergency 25% tariff and a few other bells and whistles. And the Colombian government says, nay, I will put a tariff on your ass. What? And we're jumping straight to 50. Not this 25 for a week. We're jumping straight to 50% tariff, Mr. President Trump. And this is what happened mere hours later. Man, seriously, like 4 or 5 hours later, talking all that shit. We're what? Senor Trump, you're going to put a 25% tariff on me? I'm going to put a 50% tariff on you, Mr. President Trump. A few hours later, following a tense standoff between the nations, respective presidents, an agreement was reached on Sunday night regarding the return of repatriating citizens to Colombia from the United States. Conflict ensued earlier in the day after Colombian President Gustavo Petro blocked 2 U.S. military flights carrying undocumented immigrants from entering the country. See, they're undocumented immigrants. I just forgot my paperwork. In a retaliatory response, U.S. President Donald Trump posted threats against Colombia on his social media platform, alleging that Petro's decision, quote, has jeopardized the national security and public safety of the United States. Remember, these are pieces of shit. These are gangbangers. These are the worst of the worst that they pulled out of their apartments because they wouldn't hold them in jail. So they go pull them out of their apartments and put them on a flight back home. Trump said in the post that he ordered his administration to place an emergency 25% tariff on goods coming into the United States from Colombia, and he threatened to raise it in a week to 50%. Additionally, he said that his administration would issue a travel ban immediately revoke the visas of Colombian government officials and all those of the country's allies and supporters. Trump further threatened to issue visa sanctions on all party members, family members, and supporters of the Colombian government. Finally, he said that he would also enhance customs and border protection inspections of all Colombian nationals and Colombian cargo. So that's going to muck things up. There's going to be a big backup in people wanting to come here, goods wanting to come here, because they're going to be a little bit more scrupulous when it comes to inspecting your goods. That's going to be an inconvenience. Now, the Colombian president fought back and said, well, we're going to hit you with a 50% tariff, no questions asked, right out of the gate. So I wondered, what are these goods that we're going to have a 50% tariff on coming from Colombia into the United States? So number one is minerals, fuels, oils, and distillation products at $7.9 billion, pearls, precious stones, metals, and coins at $1.8 billion, live trees, plants, bulbs, roots, $1.5 billion, coffee, tea, and mate, $1.4 billion, commodities not specified, $672 million, aluminum, or as they say in the UK, aluminium. And then it goes down and you get into the hundreds, the 200, 100 millions, and then to the tens of millions. So it's not a ton of money as far as the worth of these things that are coming into the country from Colombia. So they're not like a major trading partner like a China or something like that. So it's not really kicking us in the financial nuts like they think they are, but it never got to that. Because hours later he said, I'm sorry, lo siento, Mr. President Trump. And they backed off. Who do you guys think you're dealing with? Don't you guys know by now Trump knows what he's doing when it comes to negotiation? Like you see it right down there. Colombia, you are not a big dog. Stay on the porch. Colombia, you're going to tell us, the United States, what you're not going to do? And you just dump the worst of the worst when it comes to your citizenry on our shores, in our backyards, on our city streets, and then you think you're going to refuse our planes landing, so they couldn't even land. So if they needed to refuel, it had to be done in the air. Whatever, it's no problem. It's U.S. Air Force. We can do that in our sleep. But you're going to refuse to take your citizens back? You're going to refuse to take your shit back? And then say, oh, I'll see your 25% and raise you another 25%, my good sir. Who do you think you're dealing with, Colombia? The best thing for you to do here, here's America. We'll pull out our red, white, and blue pocket lining, and you just hold on to that, and you follow us around, and you do what the fuck we tell you. We tell you to go get us something cold to drink, go get us something cold to drink. If we tell you to go fetch our slippers and our newspaper, then damn it, go fetch our slippers and our newspaper. If we say, hey, Colombia, while you're in there, why don't you grab me a fucking cold beer? You better come back in here with something that had a lid on it you could twist off, and it better be cold. Or you're going to have a problem, Colombia, because you're Colombia and we're America. Grab our pocket lining. Shut up. What say you, citizenry? Meet me in the comments. Let me know what you think of what happened pretty quickly with Colombia. 50% tariff. I'm sorry. That's pretty much how it went. Who do you think you're dealing with? What say you? Now, of course, I'm going to end this video with Good Gun. And if you don't know what Good Gun is, that's when I highlight a story where a gun was used in the way that it's mostly used in America. I heard some upwards of like 3 million incidences every year in America where guns are used in a positive way and not necessarily being fired, not necessarily being pulled out and pointed at somebody. Just hearing a gun being racked or just pulling it out, not having to shoot or aim it at anybody. That's the great equalizer. So I like to highlight stories where bad things happen to bad people from good people. Why not? But in this one, I want you to see the reaction of the guy who had to shoot somebody. And I say had to because he didn't want to. The left and the progressive and the granola-headed dirt fuckers who were like, no way, man, you guys voted in a tyrant, man. Those are the kind of people who want you to think that when you own a gun, you guys remember that old Disney cartoon with Goofy? And he woke up in the morning and he was like, and he's putting on his suit and he's shaving, he's brushing his teeth, and he's eating his breakfast, and he's whistling, he puts on his jacket, and he grabs his briefcase, and he gets in his car, and everything's fine until he gets behind the wheel of the car, and he's like, he turns into this other person, he's mean, he's honking, he's driving fast, he's yelling at people, flipping people off. I don't know if he's flipping people off, he's Goofy. But, he was a totally different person once he got behind the wheel. So they want you to think that's how it is with gun owners. You could be a saint, with the little halo over you and the beam of light coming from the clouds. You could be a little saint. I just want to kill. They want you to think that the gun is the source of the evil. The gun is the source of the bad action. That if you just put that gun down, that thing's going to get up and it's going to be a rootin' and a tootin', bang, bang, and it's going to shoot everybody around simply because it's an evil gun. No, it's the person that possesses the evil that picks that gun up, which is a tool, much like a screwdriver, and they use it in a horrible manner. But in this story, you're going to see this guy. He didn't want to shoot this guy, and his reaction is a real reaction where he was very sad and emotional. He didn't want to do that. He even says, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that. You keep it for protection. We have guns for protection, some for sport or whatever. But a lot of people have it for protection. I don't want to use it on you. I don't want to have to kill you. but I'll be damned if I let you kill me or kill mine. Check this one out. Meet me in the comments. What do you think about Colombia getting their ass kicked on the economic stage and this good gun? You let me know. But you know how it goes. I try to be done with the left, but they just won't let me. I'm out.
And that homeowner tells me Tuesday night he saw that suspect walk up to his front door, put a ski mask on, and force himself inside the home. Inside the home, the homeowner tells me a struggle began before shots were fired.
He smacked me in the head with the gun and told me I knew what it was. And then I'm like, I yelled out. I said, hey, they're trying to rob me.
More than a dozen bullet holes marked Brent Smith's home on Indy's Far East Side. Signs of what he says was an act to protect himself. Police say it was an attempted home invasion. Smith says the suspect's gun was fired as he was struggling with the masked man.
When the gun went off, I hear thousands of gunshots. So I was trying to get up here to push my door back up, but they kept firing. So the guy, it was his gun. I had his gun. So I opened up my door and was shooting out. But when I opened the door, I didn't even know he was right there, man. I didn't know I shot him, man.
Smith says a group of people then got in a car and sped away.
That don't make no sense, man. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that.
But in Indiana, people have a right to defend their homes.
What the law says specifically is that I am justified in using reasonable force, including deadly force, if I reasonably believe that force, meaning deadly force, is necessary to prevent or terminate an unlawful attack on or entry into my dwelling.